This is the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show, and we are live. Go ahead and take a second to tweet out the room, let people know that we're here. We've got a lot of news to cover today. It's just you and me, and we'll get started in just a second. Let's have one more chorus. It might be the end of the world, but I don't know about you. I feel fine. Good now, revolutionaries. Whether you're listening morning, noon, or night, it's time to wake up and smell the crypto. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. I am your host, Evan Mann, joined today with Bill on the soundboard and Alex in the machine.
I will absolutely buy on this.
He's out of town this weekend for a family wedding, so I am going to take you through all the news that's fit to tweet, and there's a lot of news today. We've got a really good show, despite the dystopian undertone of our intro song. So I'm glad you're here with us. Let folks know where they can find us, what's going on, and then get back. Relax. If you're on the YouTube stream, welcome, Craig. I see you there. Everybody on the Twitter space listening now or in the future, I'm so glad that you're with us. Bill, my friend, how are you doing today? Are you doing fine?
I'm doing fine, and I would say not to get too deep, but isn't the world ending as we know it every day?
That's too deep, man.
I mean, we're changing all the time, so it's always the end of the world as we know it.
That sounds like it belongs in a crypto fortune cookie, man.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
Another note for you before you get into the news.
Mhm.
I found a really cool Instagram reel to follow. It starts off the video. It says, #1 hits from 1983, 1 second for every week. So each week it's playing 1 second of the song of the week that week in 1983. So
What?
the better the song. So if its song ran for say 5 or so, you hear more of the song. And if it was just a blip, you just get the 1 second. It's pretty cool. Pretty fun.
I am a big fan of this.
That sounds awesome. You're going to have to send
I was reliving my childhood,
a couple seconds at a time.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's a cool project idea. Please do send me that, and maybe we can open with that on one of the coming shows. I think that would be really fun.
Well, I'll have to get your Instagram.
Yeah,
or I'll just get texted to you somehow.
Yeah. It's like most of my handles. It's at Conversations with Evan, so you can find me there. Send it there, or just you know where I live.
There you go. Got it.
My friends, welcome. Before we get into everything, I do want to give you the instructions to claim the gift we have for you today. We've got a very special POAP today. This is supposed to be last week's POAP, a free to claim NFT featuring a piece of collectible artwork. This week's POAP is by none other than our friend Crypto to College, aka Neil. 2 weeks ago, we hosted him for Artificial Insanity, where he competed against Alex and took home the grand prize. The prompt was to transform the other's profile picture. And Neil did this really cool transformation of Alex, as he will probably appear in, I don't know, 30 or 40 years, or if the markets keep going the way they are, maybe 2 or 3. He's on his way. So that is our POAP for today.
He aged well. What is a POAP, though?
What is a POAP? Bill, I'm so glad you asked. A POAP, as Alex would say, is a proof of attendance protocol. It's a way to prove that you did a thing. It gives a tangible form to an intangible achievement. In this case, that you listened to the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show. They're super easy to claim. You go to poap.xyz. You can download their free app. And then during our show today, you listen for the secret word, which I'll give you momentarily. Take it to our Discord. You'll go to the Bot Hub and you'll type it in, all one word, no punctuation, no spaces. And you can claim this piece of awesome AI artwork as a digital collectible.
What are the chances Alex has seen this already?
Alex has absolutely seen this already. Alex has seen it, and it might just haunt his dreams. He sees it every time he looks in the mirror, looks into the future. Oh my God. So today, if you have questions about the POAP, I've got it pinned at the top, those instructions, or if you're joining on YouTube, they're down below. It's super easy, step by step, right there for you if you have any questions. And if you're listening in later, you can claim this POAP for up to a month because of our proprietary Discord bot. Big thanks to our friend Willem, aka The Machine, for setting that up for us. And the first part of the secret word is kiss me. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, I don't know if anybody here celebrated. I'm guessing you guys didn't celebrate too hard because you're all joining and listening to the show. So that's good. Kiss me is the first part of the secret word. If you want the second part of the secret word, you're going to have to keep listening or tune back in later. We'll give it to you at about 10 minutes to the hour, and then you can claim this POAP. The POAP claim will be live. In other news related to Crypto College, our friend Neil, he just completed the sale of his first NFT collection, Skywalker. And our friend and listener, David, asked, I thought, a very prescient question. He wants to know, when Skywalker POAP? So, Neil, I know you're going to hear this, and I think we might need a special Rise Up Morning show, Skywalker POAP. What do you think about that, Bill? Ding, 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 ding. Winner.
It won't let me do it in rapid fire succession. That's the thing.
I know, man. I know. They get us. They get us like that. And speaking of rapid fire, gosh, this is when I really miss Alex, because for those who don't know, that was his like trademark for a long time on TikTok. He would come on and do these videos, rapid fire crypto news for March 24th. And that would be like his shtick. He did it every single day on TikTok. He did crypto news for over a year. I don't think he missed a single day. He did it one time from his helicopter while he was still in the Coast Guard, which, gentle flex there. But if you want to follow along with the rapid fire crypto news for today, I have got another tweet pinned to the top. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Rapid fire crypto news.
Even when he's not here, he's still here. I love it. So the first article today, we've got a couple of them, and I want to go over this. Since Alex is not here, as always, it's a discussion, but I'm going to do my best to be brief, give you the headlines, and then we're going to circle back to all these stories, and we'll do a little discussion, a little commentary. I've got some extra tweets to pin at the top, but I would love to hear from you. If there's a particular news story that you're interested in, you can feel free to raise your hand. Tap the little button in the bottom left on the Twitter space. If you're here on YouTube with me, you can leave a comment. I'll be watching. Or if you can't reach a microphone, you can leave a comment in the Twitter space as well by pressing the button in the bottom right. And if you're listening in the future and you want to leave a comment, we look back. We always check what's going on. But this is the news that we've got for you today. Up first, cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase has a lot of stuff going on. Most notably this week, they have been issued a Wells notice by the US SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, which is basically a warning that companies receive of potential violations of securities law. It's not a lawsuit, but it usually precedes a formal lawsuit. And Coinbase has said that the warning isn't going to prompt any changes to its current products or services. The notice is the second notice issued by the SEC to Coinbase following a notice that they had received early on in their career, and the second this month following one made to Paxos. Reports of a probe first surfaced last year. And Coinbase, that's not all they've got going on right now. They're actually in the Supreme Court right now over two different lawsuits that it wants to push into arbitration. These lawsuits, they relate to alleged violations of the Electronic Funds Transfer Act by Coinbase, a claim that it violated one state, California's false advertising law, by duping users into a pay-to-play sweepstakes for Dogecoin prizes. Even though the user agreement says that they're required to resolve disputes by arbitration, some plaintiffs bypassed that, went straight to California courts, and now the Supreme Court is expected to rule in this case by the end of June. And the decision, of course, it could impact a lot of other big tech companies that also use arbitration in their terms of service. I've got the article for that pinned to the top, but I also, before we leave this story, want to pin another piece to the top. I've got some more resources for this, but if you want to hear directly from Brian Armstrong on this, he has a great thread about the Wells notice they received and what it entails for their company, how they're reacting, that kind of thing. Up next, and this one's a big one. Fugitive number one, Do Kwon himself, founder of the collapsed Terraform Labs, has been arrested in Montenegro for falsifying documents, according to the country's interior minister. Do Kwon is accused of causing losses of over $40 billion to investors like you and I due to the depeg of the Terra USD stablecoin, which was an algorithmic stablecoin. Unless you were under a rock, you know what I'm talking about. He was charged with securities fraud earlier this year by the US and also by officials in South Korea, where a warrant for his arrest was issued. And we've got some footage. I'm going to get into it a little later on, but I'll leave this at the top for now. The video cam footage of his arrest, Do Kwon. If you can hear me, man, I hope you're comfortable. Hope they're taking care of you, but rough time, man. Montenegro jail. Up next, we've got TikTok. A lot of people have been talking about this impending potential ban of the TikTok platform. And this is particularly relevant to someone like me. Most of my content, educational and otherwise, lives on TikTok. And gosh, a ban, it sounds pretty scary. It turns out that TikTok is about more than just dancing and cat videos. The recent ban, though, is not a ban by law. It is a ban for now that is being investigated by Congress. There's a bipartisan hearing. And as George Carlin once famously said, that the word bipartisan is a real trigger word. You know that when they're taking bipartisan action, they really mean business. I've got the highlights pinned at the top, but I want to circle back to this one because it's important to talk about when we hear a doom and gloom headline, what really is going to happen. Is it going to be that I wake up tomorrow and can no longer access my TikTok profile? Probably not, but we'll have a little more on that as we get into the story. I want to give you the last headline today is about Balaji Srinivasan. You may have seen has made a $1 million bet that Bitcoin will become a $1 million token in 90 days. And among all of his commentary around this bet, he's been warning of impending financial tyranny under the CBDC system. He advocates that Bitcoin is a solution. In the article that I'm going to pin here, he challenges people to fed around and find out, and continues to raise alarm, urging people to acquire Bitcoin before hyperinflation strikes and it's too late. Balaji Srinivasan, if you don't know, is a angel investor. He was a partner at Andreessen Horowitz. He has founded a couple of different companies, is a mechanical and I believe chemical engineer. He's a dual engineer and was at one time the CTO of Coinbase. I personally think his tweets tend to be very helpful. He's a good big picture thinker with a lot of perspective. And this time, though, I'm very interested in the drama that he has caused by all of these different tweets. So that's the news for now. And then at the end of the show, we've got a special bedtime story edition news article. Absolutely. I would love to circle back to that. But first, I want to ask you, what story is most interesting, most prescient to you? Based on what I've said so far, there's a lot of doom and gloom news. We're going to unpack it. We're going to see why it's maybe not so bad, or maybe why it is bad and how we can fix it as little old Twitter space listeners. But let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what questions you have. And of course, again, if you'd like to come up, share your take on these stories, feel free to raise your hand. I'm happy to do it. Bill, do you have any initial thoughts for us? What's striking fear in your heart today, or are you feeling hopeful?
Well, I wanted to talk about the TikTok one.
Let's do it.
I'm going to have to jet in about 10 minutes for a little bit. I'll be back before the show's over, I'm sure, but I got to get off for a little bit. But yeah, what's interesting about the TikTok is I don't have TikTok anymore because I can't handle it. It just, it's just too it just takes too much of my attention. It's like I had to get it off my device. So what do you do? I mean, I see a lot of TikToks that are redone on Instagram, redone on YouTube, Facebook. So I guess there's a way to get content out, but I guess what are your thoughts about the whole TikTok thing? I know they're saying that we have a different algorithm than they do in overseas and other countries, and so they use it as a targeting tool to at least that's a theory I've heard. So I don't know. That's kind of where my latest thoughts are on TikTok.
So there is a different algorithm that they use in different places based on, regulatory requirements, who's running the company in those places. And what I think is the most important is certainly we should be concerned about the way we use social media to avoid letting it use us. It's a lot like AI in that regard. But my take is I don't think that the inquiry is intellectually honest. By which I mean to say that there is a lot of lobbying interest from folks like Mark Zuckerberg and others who have a vested interest in competing with TikTok, who are pushing this kind of regulatory action. And my experience on TikTok as a creator, especially as a consumer, I definitely think it's got the most addicting algorithm. But as a creator, I would say it's got the most helpful algorithm that more than Instagram, more than YouTube, or any other platform I personally have used. It is the easiest place to find quickly people who resonate with your message. And it doesn't have a lot of barriers to entry. Like I can whip out my phone, and if I've got a cogent thought, I can put it down. And if I give it an appropriate title, the people who care about it can find it much more easily than they can on Instagram. It's much more discoverable. I've had a number of videos go viral. I had one video that got like 1.5 million views, which equates in watch time to like 3 years. Well, I don't say it as like a, thank you, but I'm aware that one, that means that humanity has collectively spent that much time watching my video. But I appreciate that algorithm has helped me share a
Right.
message, I believe, is important with a lot of different people. I don't get that kind of reach on Instagram. I don't get that kind of reach on YouTube. And I think most people don't. And I also think, though their creator fund is you make pennies, it is
Yeah.
a good hypothetical model on which to build that is way better than the Instagram model, the Facebook model, even in some cases the YouTube model. So that's kind of my take on, I think it's a helpful platform. I think, like anything, it should be regulated thoughtfully, but I don't
Yeah.
think that the approach is helpful right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if the government is going to use the theory that other countries are using, or isn't it a China-based
That's right.
app?
It
Yeah,
is.
so the Chinese are using it to manipulate us or our society, and so that the government can characterize it as a weapon
Sure.
and use that as part of their argument to ban it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's interesting. I mean, now you kind of fuzzy that line of what's reality and what's just conjecture to make your point or to make your case.
Yeah. And I would add too, a lot of people who are using TikTok are using it not just for mongering attention. They're using it to document their lives. They're using it to build
Mm,
communities. They're using it. Most people who use TikTok use it, I have seen, as a search engine more than Google. If you want to know how to fix a leaky sink, you go to TikTok and you Google it. Especially younger people tend
right.
to use TikTok that way. And just on the notion of, like, can they restrict it? Should they restrict it? The other tweet that I pinned at the top goes into the potential implications and legal unfoldings of this. What would a ban look like if they decided they wanted to ban it? And I think this is really helpful to understand because, okay, President Trump tried to ban it last year. And the act that they would most likely use to ban it, though it's unclear what the Biden administration would pursue for sure, it would probably use something called the Restrict Act, which, if passed this year, would take up to 6 months for Congress to review, and then another 6 months to complete those reviews and then take action. They got to get feedback, then they got to review it themselves, then they got to enact it and sign it into law. And there's a lot of speculation that even then, under the Restrict Act, to ban a platform like this on such a scale for US citizens would be a violation of First Amendment rights at this point, even if it was a question of national security. So there's a lot of legal red tape. The Supreme Court would probably have a say in it. It would likely result in a lawsuit. My point is just that for people who are concerned about it, I don't think it's an imminent cause for concern. This is a big time down the road thing,
Yeah, nothing is with the U.S. government.
Yeah. Yeah. Hurry up and wait, guys. Hurry up and wait.
You've got to have a sound bite from Alex on that.
Yeah, about the US government, I really don't. This is probably the closest I have.
It's just stupid.
It's just stupid, and also, of course, my favorite.
Not ideal.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, gosh, yeah. He also might
I
say,
can't say that despite all your hard work, I feel an overabundance of protection.
with regard to regulation. Classic Alex right there.
Sure.
The next story I want to get into is, I would love to zoom in a little on this Do Kwon thing, because I'm curious to know whether people in our audience see Do Kwon as a hero or a villain for the cryptocurrency movement at large. One of the tweets I'm going to pin it to the top here is from our good friend of the show, Vanessa. She says, "Would you cheer if Vitalik was arrested? If Charles Hoskinson of Ada was arrested? The game is crypto versus fiat. The fiat imperialists are charging down the battlefield. Hold the line." So I'm curious to know what people think about that. My personal take is, I think it's good that Do Kwon is that justice is being carried out, but I can also see. I actually don't know that I know enough to have an opinion in terms of, there's a very active community right now still on Terra Luna. There's a sort of resurrected Luna token, and a lot of people like Vanessa have made some really, I think, level-headed arguments about why, though it is a disaster and a catastrophe that people have lost money in the infrastructural fallout, why, as always, this kind of regulation, this kind of approach, and the way it's enacted across the spectrum is not helpful and could be, in fact, harmful to us. If you look at the prosecution of someone like Do Kwon versus the prosecution of someone like Sam Bankman-Fried, you consider all the different interests that are on the table. And so I'm interested and curious to hear what people think. Bill, I know you got to go. Is that something you have a take on?
I really don't have much of a take on it, other than I think your take is probably going to be influenced, at least at some part, by what side of the coin you're on. You know, if you're heavily invested,
Hmm.
you're probably going to feel a little bit sorry or more compassion about it, or you're going to be very angry. And if you're not, if you didn't touch that part of the crypto world, then you probably don't really care. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm not really vested, so it doesn't really resonate with me. It's like almost like, ooh, dodged the bullet there. You know,
Yeah. And I think
move
that's
on.
well, that's a really good point, because like I didn't have any exposure to Terra Luna personally. I had very minimal exposure to it. So I was not affected like some people were wrecked. And I think there's a real difference. It's a nuanced difference between bringing justice to those people who may have been harmed, and harm could be prevented in the future, versus using it as leverage to overregulate a tool that could be helpful for the space. I think stablecoins, by and large, will be a helpful tool, especially a decentralized stablecoin, to combat something like the potential tyranny of a CBDC. It is, though, tempting for governments, especially people who don't know a lot, who aren't in this every day, to look at that and say, "Oh, this failed. It's all going to fail. We've got to really crack down on it." That, I guess, is where my concern for it comes from. Lisa, I see you've come up to the stage. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Well, that's a good spot for me to say, I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay,
Bye.
Bill. Be safe, man. Lisa, what's on your mind?
Hey, I am driving, so hopefully that isn't very loud for you guys.
Hey, it's okay. We got you.
I was going to do the TikTok thing, so not the other thing. So,
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, well, here's the thing with the TikTok thing. My daughter, she's younger. She's 27, 8, 9, 28 years old.
Something like that.
And yeah, something like that. And all of her friends have all their shit on their phone. Do not carry around your bank. I've had several of her friends that have been hacked. Their banks have been hacked. Their Venmo or whatever, I don't know, whatever Cash App, whatever stuff they're using these days. You know, if you're gonna have TikTok or any application that's not directly from a reputable source like the Apple producers or whatever, then you shouldn't have it on your phone. I mean, you don't walk around with all this stuff, all this information all the time, and so the fact that the Congress is like, well, it's such a threat. Well, no, it's not. If you just use common sense and don't put all this other information out on your phone.
So that's the question, though, is it's really convenient for most people to put that stuff on their phone. We have gotten into a good habit of not carrying our social security card or our passport with us every time we leave the house. But since we take our phone to make the call and we use our phone to do the banking, it becomes sort of a difficult thing. So how do you think people should balance that best? Is it a second device or?
I do not believe that I do not do my banking on my phone. I do not have a banking app on my phone at all. And if you're going to do anything, you should be doing it from a hardwired connection, not Wi-Fi. I just think that we have a lot. I don't think that they were taught enough security back in when the internet first started for them to understand, how much information is on your phone. And I watched a couple of videos. I don't know if it was TikTok or wherever, but people were getting their bank accounts hacked. People were cloning their phones, and they were changing their Apple IDs and all this other stuff because no one knew two-factor identification. I just think that there's a lack of security that people just they just don't think it's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you wouldn't leave your home unlocked,
Right.
so and so why would you leave your bank account in public?
Well, I think that's the thing, is that people don't make that same connection between their home, which obviously I lock the door, I leave the door. There are all these markers, these indicators, a keyhole, a key. And with the phone experience, or even just the digital experience, whether it's your phone, it's your laptop, whatever, I think there are not as many reminders. It's been made to integrate with your experience, to be seamless. And so it's easy, if you're not thinking about it, to forget about it. You're not reminded. The user experience isn't built to remind you again and again, or it's built to lull you into a false sense of security, right? You use a PIN to log into your phone, or you use face recognition or a thumbprint or something like that, right? Do you agree? I think that's part of the problem.
I mean, and you know, and I tell everyone, do not use your debit card. I don't even have a debit card. I have 0 debit cards. You know, I can go to the bank, get money when I want. I can write a check, you know, cash check, whatever. Use, you know, a lot of people I've seen get screwed because they'll use their debit card somewhere. Let's say they use it at a gas station and it has a skimming, it has a skimmer on it, or they use it at a hotel and they put a hold on their money. And so that makes them overdrawn, or somebody got a hold of it and used it for random whatever. The bank doesn't give a shit how long it takes for you to get your money back, if you get your money back. That's why if you're going to pay with anything, use a credit card, because credit card companies, you can flag it, it's fraudulent, whatever. You don't have to, it's not money out of your pocket, you know. And I like I said, I would never carry I don't have a debit card. I wouldn't carry a debit card. So why in the hell would I put my banking on my phone?
Yeah.
There's no point.
Makes sense. And so your point with go ahead.
My point is, you know, if we can't be safe, you know, I mean, and people with walk around with crypto on their phone. I mean, I have a little bit because I always need some in case I have to mint something, you know, but you know, you don't put everything. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket. You don't put everything all on one device. You know, it's you can buy a laptop nowadays for $200-300. Use that for your security, your banking, stuff like that. Use your phone for all fun stuff. That's all I have my phone for, is fun stuff.
Gotcha. Good points. And use it on a secured connection. Add a VPN if you want extra security, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there are so many options for cheap or free VPNs that it's not, I absolutely recommend it to everybody as part of their internet hygiene routine.
Right. And, you know, I mean, if you can get an Android for like what, $30-40 now?
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, like those little prepaid ones at Walmart.
What?
You can get them for like 30. Yeah, you can get them like $30-40.
Oh my gosh.
Go use that, tether it to your phone, and use that to play with your TikTok or, you know, whatever.
Good tips.
But like I said, it's just not, it's not, they're not collecting any more information than everybody else is. You can't tell me that Facebook's not collecting. Well,
No.
obviously in
Right.
California, it's different
sure.
because, you know, they have that thing, they have that privacy law. But, you know, all these apps are collecting all this information. And, you know, I swear to God, if you look at the terms and agreement for Amazon, and you have Alexa on your phone.
Oh yeah.
You know, they can record your conversation at any time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Alexa. Talk about terrifying. Good deal, Lisa. Stick around with me for a second if you want to. I want to take a quick sidebar to tell you about something cool. We are sponsored on this show by our friend Ching Pang Wei, his name is Ben, and Ben runs a printing Shoup, he has a 3D printing setup so that if you are an NFT enthusiast, if you are a business owner and you need cool merch for stuff in quantities as low as one, this brother can hook you up. He specializes in printing one-for-one stuff for NFT collectors. We've used him a lot. We've got a couple of upcoming promotions with him, and one of them that I wanted to tell you about now is Alex and I were talking about this. We were thinking we'd do something cool for our 50th episode, which is coming up. Slower now that we're doing one a week, but it's coming up here. And we would love to do some limited edition merch for folks who've been collecting POAPs. So if you think it should be a coffee mug or the robe or the slippers, then let us know. What kind of Rise Up Morning Show merch would you like to see? Or is there something else you'd want to see? And if there is a piece from your personal collection that you'd like to print, to put on your wall, put on a t-shirt, let people know which community you're part of, you can get in touch with Ben at Ching Peng Wei. They do great work, and we're grateful to them for partnering with us to bring you the show.
Okay, you said 3D print.
Oh, I did.
Yes,
I meant digital printing. No,
I was so confused. I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
No, sorry, Lisa. You know, it wouldn't be the Rise Up Morning Summer Show if I didn't use the wrong word for something at least three times.
That's our bingo card.
That's our bingo card. That's exactly right. So that's one on the bingo card. It's digital printed merchandise, meaning there's screen printing where every color, every shape has a different layer. Digital printing is a more efficient, environmentally friendly way to print merchandise. My personal opinion is that I think screen prints are a little more quality, but the technology is advancing so fast that you almost can't tell the difference unless you're really an expert, and you can get beautiful, vivid, full color prints all over a garment or piece of merchandise that you couldn't otherwise do with a more limited screen printing setup. So it's pretty cool, but not 3D printing. And then I want to tell you about one more thing that we are doing as part of our segment on
This is Artificial Insanity.
Artificial Insanity. Today, since I'm all alone, I don't have a game to play, but I do have something cool related to AI that I want to tell you about. It's going to take me a second because I got to find it and then I got to pin it to the top here. But at Faceless Labs, we've been doing a lot more consulting focused stuff. And we've been working to try and produce a package for Web 2 brands who may not be very hip to blockchain, hip to AI, but whose users could benefit from it every day. And as kind of a personal experiment in this, I've recruited some feedback from different people, and I have developed a 90-minute 60 to 90 minute, you might get done early kind of thing, webinar that I'm going to start next Tuesday. It's an AI course that focuses specifically on text generator ChatGPT, but is going to rope in some other tools like Canva, which just has an incredible suite of tools that they just dropped recently. And it's targeted to any kind of entrepreneur, small business owner, or creative, people at all levels of experience, but especially people who are curious or who are concerned about artificial intelligence. A lot of folks listening in this room have experienced it for themselves. You've played with GPT, you've played with Midjourney, you get how easy it can be, how helpful it can be. And Alex was sharing a quote with me that says, AI will not replace humans. Humans that use AI will replace humans that don't. So most folks, I think, in this room, we have a healthy balance of concern, but we're optimistic, at least, on our ability to mindfully use these tools to improve our lives. And I want to give that to people. And this is not a free course, but it is, I think, valuable. It's with this code I've given you here, it's Faceless10. It's $39.99. And like I say, most of you guys, if you want the course for free, like, you're part of the community, like, send me a message. This is really designed as a test of value, mostly for business owners. If you know a business owner and you want to give them a low cost way to earn a lot of value, I'm going to give them a super thorough tutorial on screen walkthroughs for how to generate prompts to build a website, how to run a newsletter, how to generate valuable social media content, how to do research about prospective business ideas, products, and services. And then I'm going to show people how to integrate the text with graphic design using Canva. So super simple, but super thorough. I've got an ebook to accompany it. And then everybody who attends the course is going to get the video recording in perpetuity. And, we'll be able to establish a relationship and a connection that they can use to learn more about this kind of stuff. I would love it if you would give me your feedback, if you'd share it. If you have other courses or resources that you have used that you found helpful, please send them our way, because we're trying to build kind of a database of that kind of stuff. We want to help there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions about it. I was on a webinar the other day with an instructor I know who was doing a similar kind of course. And the comments that were rolling through were like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind. I think I personally have felt a little jaded to it. It seems like a long time that we've had AI text generators and image generators, but it's really so new. And most people, they don't know about it, or they think it's too technical for them. So this is breaking down that wall. And like I say, if it's something that you want to experience, you guys just send me a message and I'll send you the login for free. But please feel free to share it with business owners. It's a tax write-off. And let's get them up to speed on AI. Okay, back to the news. Before I move on from Do Kwon, we talked about Do Kwon a second ago. I have absolutely got to share this tweet with you. Do Kwon, if you're just joining us, was arrested in Montenegro for charges brought by the United States and South Korea. But what he was specifically caught and incarcerated for in this instance was falsifying documents. And I have it on good authority here from a reporter on the ground that this is the document that they found on Do Kwon's person. This little McLovin ID right here. I'm kidding, but he did have passports for a number of different nations. He was doing like a real heist, it seems like. And it seems like it was pretty smart, and he probably wouldn't have been caught if it wasn't for those meddling kids, those meddling Montenegro kids, man. If you want to see the video, we've got the footage pinned in the top, and we've got some other commentary pinned at the top too, like from our friend Vanessa, about whether Do Kwon is a wrongfully incarcerated hero or if he is a rightfully imprisoned villain. Only time will tell. I want to go back really. Oh, go ahead, Lisa. Yeah.
Is Montenegro, isn't that a coin as well, a token? I swear, I feel like.
I think you're thinking of Monero.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Monero is like, they call themselves digital cash. They're not unlike Bitcoin in terms of how the community is made up. The blockchain is slightly different, but check out Monero, Monero. Montenegro, you could use Monero as your official currency. Sponsored by the Rise Up Morning Show. Just kidding. I want to go back to Coinbase really quick. Coinbase is facing a lot of hot water right now, and it's a really important conversation for our whole space. I especially want to highlight the "what can I do" question. I think a lot of the time we talk about the news or we hear about the news and we just get the headlines. And on this show, we try to give you more context. But Alex and I and everyone at Faceless, we're really passionate about this so what question, and what's this mean for me, and how can I get involved? And for this particular occasion, with regard to Coinbase, I want to encourage you, if you're interested or concerned about regulations for exchanges, Coinbase, in my opinion, has probably done more than any other exchange to try to partner with regulators, at least in the United States. They've been really thorough about documentation. They've been really thorough about who they hire and consult with, how they craft their policies, so as to try and avoid this kind of trouble and shape for the future helpful regulations for everyday people. Brian Armstrong is very outspoken about this kind of stuff. So whether you think they're a hero or a villain in our crypto story, I think it's important to look at what they're saying because they put out a lot of good information. So the first resource I want to share with you is a space that they did yesterday. You can go and listen. They had Brian Armstrong, Coinbase CEO, Paul Grewal, Fayyar Shirzad, and Chris Elaine in a conversation about the SEC's decision, they say, to enforce rules that don't exist and the implications of that for our whole space. So that's step one. And then step two, which I'm going to pin at the top here for you, is another M word, Lisa. Ryan Selkin, the founder of Masari Crypto, which is like a think tank that produces an annual report and other resources for crypto companies and investors, has written a a long letter to Congress that I think is a helpful model that people can use to contact their own officials. My friends, we hear it all the time in the context of voting for the president or the mayor, but you have a voice and you have an opportunity, especially at a local and regional level right now, to reach out to people who may not know about this stuff, but whose lives it will impact in the not too distant future and even today. So if you want to see a model for what that kind of letter could look like, here's a good example to start. But I would encourage all of you to spend some time, look up who your local officials are, and even your state officials. Find out if they're crypto friendly, what they know about cryptocurrency, if they're on the task force. It should take you 10 minutes. Don't make it hard on yourself. And then let us know what kinds of help you might need contacting them. Faceless Labs is talking about drafting up some template type letters so that anybody anywhere can make it easy to put their name, add their commentary, and contact somebody to let them know that we are concerned about this future too and want to help them regulate a future that is good, not just for us, not just for them, but for everyday people who will join the space.
Evan, I also want people to know that, I go to my state capitol all the time and testify. You can give testimony in almost any scenario. Now, if you get paid to do that, you have to register as a lobbyist. But I mean, you can, but you can do it as an individual and be for or against it. And right now, there's a number of bills running through, even in Arkansas, believe it or not, about
Really?
a central bank. Yeah, Texas is protecting Bitcoin, and so is Florida, and they are also saying don't touch our crypto. So, but almost every state in the United States now has a bill. I know there's at least 14 bills out there, and it's not that hard to get to know your representative.
Yeah.
You can just, and don't just show up and bitch all the time. Show up and support them and support their other bills.
Sure.
It's really not that hard to contact their office, get to know their especially their secretaries and their workers, because that will get you close to them. I mean, I know at least 15 senators, and I have their cell phone numbers for the state of Arkansas. So it's not that hard.
Lisa, would you have any steps for anybody who's interested in getting started?
I mean, the first thing to do is make sure you're registered to vote.
Okay.
I don't care what you do. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you vote. I don't care who you vote for, but make sure you're registered in your vote, because the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to look up and see if you are a registered voter, and they're not going to, they're highly unlikely going to return your call if you're not.
Hmm.
I've been in this for a very long time, and that is one of the things that I always tell everybody. Obviously, I would also recommend, and this is kind of a little sneaky, but I would recommend going with whatever party your state is mostly.
Okay.
And whatever, because they tend to reach out back to their constituents that are within their party. A little backhanded, but I mean, that's just the way it works.
Sure.
And then the other thing is, write them letters, talk to them anytime that they go. They usually will travel to different cities and show up for town hall meetings. Show up, and go to your capital. Go be where they're at. The more often that you can be in their space, they start recognizing, oh, you've been here. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they want to see. They want the support either way, and show up in for things that, if you don't particularly care whether a bill is good or bad, and they're sponsoring that bill, show up and testify for that bill. That goes a long, long ways.
Very cool. Thank you, Lisa. I want to close this one on a last note about what Ryan Selkis says that goes right along with it, that writing to Congress, talking to your representative, that's a first step. But there's so much more that you can do. And the specific regulatory actions that Selkis argues that would be helpful, that I think are worth a further look if you're interested in the crypto space, are 3 core pieces of legislation. Legislation on stable coins, banking rules and regulations, on hosted exchange and custody registration norms. So like centralized exchanges, what are the rules for them? And then reporting and disclosure rules for who holds what kind of assets and who is allowed to hold them. Those are all important, have far sweeping implications. And I agree with Ryan, would be a great start to help people onboard to the safe more safely and understand, oh, yeah, this is what's going on here and how it can benefit me, which is always like the crux of what we're talking about. Now it is time, my friends. You've been waiting patiently for the second part of the secret word. If you want to see the POAP for today, if you missed it, scroll back to the start of the pinned tweets. We've got a lovely picture of Alex in his golden years, maybe silver years, I don't know. But the second part of the secret word, so you can claim that POAP by Crypto to College, is I'm Alex. I'm Alex. No apostrophe in the I'm, all lowercase, no spaces. Put it together with the first part of the secret word that you heard at the top of the show and go claim your POAP. And if you post about it, leave a comment and just tag Alex in it. And let's razz him a little bit for not being here. I think that would be fun. I'm going to go ahead. We touched on the Balaji bet earlier today, and I'm happy to talk about it now, but I do just want to post a couple of other tweets for people who may not be familiar with what's going on, because I think this is an interesting drama that's unfolding. Balaji is the former CTO of Coinbase. He's a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. He's co-founded a number of companies, and he writes very presciently about future and present technology. But lately, he's been grabbing headlines and engagement on Twitter for his thesis that hyperinflation is imminent, that in the wake of the SVB and other banking crises, in order to cover the money supply, the government is approving and will continue to approve the printing of fiat dollar bills, leading to the phenomenon of hyperinflation. Balaji argues that the best and strongest hedge against this hyperinflation we have is, if Bill was here, Bitcoin. And I think it's really interesting, the drama, of course, but some of the research that he has compiled, which I've pinned to the top here for you, that talks about the different data points he's looking at. I don't think it's probably a wise idea to go take out a mortgage and buy a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't think it's a wise idea to worry at night about whether or not the dollar is going to crash imminently tomorrow. But the kind of stuff that Balaji is talking about, the way that he talks about it, even if it's a little sensational, is helpful to think about, because it is a doomsday, but possible sort of scenario. Inflation is a very real thing that affects all fiat currencies. Monetary policy, fiscal policy are very important in regulating it. It's very delicate, and only a handful of people have control over that. So educating ourselves, that's step one. And this drama is not only entertaining, like good education should be, but it is informative. If hyperinflation, if cryptocurrency is something you find yourself concerned about, if you're talking to people who often ask you, why? Well, why? Why do we need cryptocurrency? This is the kind of conversation that you can arm yourself with to inform yourself about the benefits and, of course, the drawbacks too. So if you have a thought on that, let me know. But my kind of thought was I wanted to wrap up by touching on that conversation in a more creative way. Last week, we talked about central bank digital currencies, Alex and I, and we talked about it like we talk about everything, where there are people saying, oh, the CBDC is coming, it's coming, it's going to be too late, it's going to be the end of the world as we know it. And Alex and I both kind of share the perspective that the government right now has pretty complete abilities to surveil people. And while a CBDC, a currency on the blockchain, would undoubtedly increase and make it easier for them to increase their ability and make it easier for them to exert that control, there are a lot of things in the way of that. And there are also a lot of benefits to tokenized digital currency, like stable coins, which are decentralized, that have kind of a leg up on CBDCs. So I'm bullish, I'm hopeful, Alex is too, and we're taking a measured approach to it. But I saw a fantastic piece of writing which imagines a dystopian future where Bitcoin had never existed and where a CBDC was implemented and what the implications were. So I honestly thought that as a way to kind of close things out, I would like to take time to read it for you, because it's brief and it's good. But first, let's finish our wrap up of the news. Let's get through your questions. If you got one, leave it below. Hit that button, raise your hand to come up, leave me a comment on YouTube. I'm here for you. And we've got our friend, today's POAP artist, Neil, with us. My brother. How you doing?
I'm always doing good, Alex. Sorry I was a little late today.
What do you mean, Alex? Don't give me that Alex crap.
Evan, sorry.
Hey, man.
I
Hey,
was pressing
man.
buttons, reading something. My brain went to mush there for half a
I am a
second.
big fan
I
of this.
apologize.
That's okay. It's okay. The world could always use a little more Alex.
No, things are great. Yeah, Bitcoin to $1 million, and we will be in a apocalyptic dystopian nightmare if that actually happens in 85 days or whatever.
And
yeah,
counting.
That would be nuts. Yeah. So yeah. Hi.
Neil, I saw you were in Vanessa's live stream earlier. I was there for a minute. And do you have any alpha on that? She was talking to
Oh my gosh.
Fig and Squid. That was crazy.
Did you understood kind of what they're doing?
I understood it in the context that it sounds like just a big interoperability play. You can move your tokens pretty much anywhere and use them with great utility, right?
It's a massive interoperability play. They pretty much have every EVM chain, and if you want to talk about something else, that's fine. But
no, go for it.
Yeah, they basically have all the EVM chains are integrated. They're working on some other chains as well. Cardano, some of the proof of work chains are going to be integrated as well. And when I say soon, and I know, but they're talking about like April. You're going to be able to swap out your Bitcoin for Cosmos, and then then you're in the Cosmos ecosystem and you're able to play around in there. They have you're going to be able to purchase crypto with credit cards through their system.
Love it.
But yeah,
even in the United States.
Yes, well, supposedly. But yeah, I was asking about MoonPay integration, and he kind of nodded his head. There's also support for cold wallets on this as well. He talked about utilizing Ledger Live, and then that should be up. I guess Ledger's doing kind of a final audit on their API, but he doesn't anticipate any pushback. But yeah, for any DeFi people, my goodness, there were lots of DeFi routes I was whirling around in my head. And Multiverse X is not integrated at this time, but yes, they are looking to add as many chains as possible. So
wow,
it is pretty crazy.
Should we have them on the show?
Yeah, if you can get them, sure, go right ahead. Yeah, if through Vanessa or whatever, but I know there are a ton of DeFi degens that their minds would be blown with this, and it takes their commitment is to do swaps within 20 seconds.
Wow.
And one of the kind of unique things that they've built into their system is if you don't have the gas, like if you're switching in and out of Cosmos,
sure,
or you're going over to some other EVM chain, if you don't have the gas in your wallet to purchase that, they'll give you the gas for it. It's all about making it as seamless as possible. But I was thinking about
that is a game changer right there, because it is a pain in the butt. I mean, are they going to give it to you, or are they going to deduct it from your transaction?
No, I think they give it, and it's not ETH gas or whatever, but if you're doing Cosmos, which is just like MVX or Polygon, it's minuscule, in terms of the USD value, but they'll kick that in. Oh, thank God Bill's here. But yeah, they'll kick that in for free for their transaction. And I haven't looked at all the docs yet. I mean, this the YouTube live was just an hour ago or something, but it blew my mind. Like, I didn't think this was possible in crypto, and it is. So
not only is it possible, but it's coming soon.
I think it's live right now.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I've pinned it up at the top of the space. I caught the stream for a couple of minutes, and Vanessa, if you don't know her, at Technology Poet, is a fantastic interviewer. She's a wonderful thought, like creative. She does just a great job at giving perspective on different things and introducing important topics to her audience. So my highest recommendation for that. You should absolutely make time to watch that stream.
And I've watched plenty of Vanessa's videos and streams. This was one of the first ones she was kind of speechless.
Yeah.
A little bit. If you know Vanessa, that means something.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I'll shut up about it. But yeah, blew my mind. I'll be playing around with it this weekend.
Hey Neil, now that you're here, I wanted to ask you. We had last week a comment from our friend David who said, "When Skywalker POAP? You think you could hook us up sometime soon with a little like Rise Up Skywalker for a little exclusive drop? I've seen you've been working on the Skywalker ladies."
Yeah, that's the alpha. So yeah, those are going to be coming out probably in a couple weeks. Just kind of wrapping them up, making some final edits to it.
Nice.
It really came from Vanessa. She made a comment and she's like, "What about the ladies?" And I was like, "Damn it. Like, why didn't I think about that when I did the first collection?" So yeah, so I've got we'll do another, probably 10 of those, but so a Rise Up Sky. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Offline. It's
Yeah.
actually online, but
Yeah, absolutely, man. Cool. Thanks, Neil.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, brother. Everybody, I want to invite you to sit back, relax. I'm going to take about 3 minutes and read you this fantastic thread, which is the story that I teased you, a bedtime CBDC story. This is by Alex Gladstein, who is the chief strategy officer at Human Rights Foundation. He contributes to Bitcoin Magazine, and I found it through my friend Non-Fungible Cats. I just love a good piece of creative writing, and this one is especially prescient. It is called A World Without Bitcoin. What would the future look like if Satoshi had never invented decentralized digital scarcity? If we didn't have open source, non-discriminatory money beyond the control of corporations and governments? Here's a sci-fi look into that parallel universe. The year is 2040 and cash is gone. The money you use on a daily basis has fully transitioned into a tool of surveillance and control. In Midtown Manhattan, you tip sidewalk performers with a scan of your wearable, your face, or your fingerprint. Coins and dollar bills are now curiosities, fossils from a forgotten age. In Beijing, the government-issued yuan has long since been digitized into the ubiquitous DCEP. Holding old paper notes is illegal. All payments are touchless or biometric, and all transactions are natively linked to your full identification stack. Every time you buy something, your national digital profile simultaneously updates. Transaction privacy was one of the last freedoms to be stripped away in China. Now, your communications, movements, and interactions with other citizens are tracked with billions of cameras. Real-time surveillance streaming from your wearables, swarms of micro-drone recorders, and immensely powerful algorithms linking everything together in a panopticon. In Caracas, Venezuela, the recovering economy runs on digital dollars. There is some street bartering, of course, but greenbacks finally became obsolete a few years ago, and other bearer assets like gold remain incredibly rare. If you want to buy something, you have to do it electronically, and the transaction will be tracked and linked to your citizen profile. In Lagos, like many African capitals, all commerce is carried out on the rails of Chinese fintech, and everyone communicates seamlessly with the latest version of WeChat. The Nigerian economy runs on DCEP, and the government and its 300 million citizens basically act as a Chinese satellite state. At some point in the 2030s, governments around the world made cash illegal. They initially accomplished this feat through a demonetization process where public officials announced a new digital economy. They claimed it wouldn't leave anyone behind, it would increase stability, and would make it easy to catch criminals and money launderers. Most citizens believed them. Even in countries where the majority never had a brick and mortar bank account, all citizens were encouraged, then forced, to create ID linked digital currency accounts accessible through their wearables or biometrics. Then they were given a multi year time window during which they could redeem their cash for a shrinking amount of digital credits. Almost everyone cashed in and went fully digital early on when they could get the most. After the window expired, it became a punishable offense to carry paper or metal money. Now, in 2040, there are two dominant currencies in the world: the digital dollar and China's DCEP. The world is roughly divided. North America, Europe, and some top allies use the digital dollar, while the rest of the world uses DCEP. Very few other currencies remain. Some rogue states still produce their own, but these don't last long and they aren't worth much to anyone else. The regimes tend to inflate their money supply extremely quickly, severely devaluing their currency and eventually force authorities to create new ones. This cycle destroys trust between state and citizen. Eventually, such governments give up sovereignty in exchange for survival and turn to the digital dollar or DCEP. The common person effectively has no ability to store savings in a way that isn't controlled by either the American or the Chinese government. There hasn't been any meaningful innovation in savings technology. Most citizens just save up their digital credits, but the value of their credits depreciates against real-world goods relatively quickly. And then there is auto-taxing. By now, taxes are automatically deducted from your credit balance, and tax rates rise unpredictably and always, it seems, too fast. As in previous decades, some poor and middle-class citizens still buy things like cattle or sheet metal in an effort to save against inflation, but all, save the 1%, are locked out of premium assets like real estate, fine art, vintage wine, and other scarce items. Financial privacy has virtually disappeared, and not just in China and the DCEP countries. Along with the rise of ubiquitous surveillance cameras in public places, all linked together with AI-powered instant analysis, all transactions are immediately linked to individuals. With cash gone, it's extremely difficult to buy a burner phone or a SIM card. Fines for trying to manipulate your credit wallet are harsh, and no one ever invented an alternative digital currency that was able to hold value. Big data analysis wasn't always so powerful, but it is now. Of course, humans had credit cards for decades, but unlike the early days, now governments can sift through all financial data with the press of a button. To get credits, you need to provide ID. To use credits, you need to be loyal. To get the best perks, you need to be a perfect patriot. Around the world, digital currencies give governments unprecedented abilities to control their citizens. If your digital profile doesn't have a top rating, you're locked out of many public services and benefits. In dictatorships, if you dare criticize the government, you immediately lose financial abilities. Some say being in financial jail is worse than being in actual prison. Corporations do create their own money. Libra was just the beginning, but all these credits are inevitably pegged to the digital dollar or DCEP and therefore are surveillable, censorable, and confiscatable. They don't offer an escape. There has also been a dramatic increase in the real-time sale of your data and behavior to third parties. There is practically no way to buy something without your government and a range of corporations knowing. Instantly, upon purchase, you're met with a variety of advertisements. Many people have upgraded to smart visors and retinal implants, and they get advertisements there too. Unless, of course, they can pay for the premium versions. In the DCEP countries, one can opt out of everything except government propaganda. The public feared the rise of the Orwellian police state, and it came, but they also got the dystopia of Aldous Huxley. In this brave new world, a sophisticated constellation of carrots and sticks built into the financial system encourages and reinforces state-compliant behavior with impressive efficiency. Patriotism, it turns out, is addictive. The Chinese social credit system, much mocked in the early 2020s, was implemented by governments worldwide in the ensuing decade, and with the transition to a fully digital economy has become incredibly effective at stamping out dissent. Governments ran sweeping campaigns to locate every single citizen within their borders and connect them to national identity systems. India's Aadhaar was the first of many, initially promoted as a miracle for the unbanked, vulnerable, and stateless. But later, it became clear that these ID networks were just surveillance and exploitation machines. Things were more fair for some, but a tiny few control everyone else in a way not even previously imaginable. The benevolent idea of compliance has ultimately led to slavery. It is the digital banality of evil. Even now, governments continue to innovate their surveillance tech. Some citizens are offered perks for agreeing to install their credit wallets into their wrists or retinas. They say it's the ultimate in touchless convenience. The program is popular. Some analysts say that by 2050, everyone will have one. This could be our world, but thankfully, this is a fantasy. In our world, we have an escape. In 2009, a pseudonymous programmer by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto launched Bitcoin, a sovereign financial system. Over the next few years, this decentralized money project grew. A global community made it strong and grew a brilliant initial design into an unstoppable force. Over time, there were more nodes, more miners, more users, and more adoption. By 2020, the separation of money from state had begun. What was at first a curiosity turned into a powerful global phenomenon, and once people understood they could digitally transact in a parallel economy that authorities didn't control, they wanted to learn more and get involved. Satoshi pioneered a way out of the panopticon with proof of work, creating a non-governmental financial system. Our future 2040 is still a horribly imperfect place, but omniscient tracking and surveillance is much more difficult because Bitcoin has enabled the survival of a digital form of cash. And of course, to read more, there's a full World Without Bitcoin essay that Alex Gladstein has posted at the end of their thread, and they've got an audio version too. But that's it. That's a little dystopian bedtime story for you, my friends. I know, man. Thankfully, we got Satoshi, we got decentralized money, we've got all the good stuff, and hopefully we can avoid that future. But if we don't, I'm sure that we'll be on air somewhere in China's broadcast system to tell you about it. So, what do you think, my friends? Should we put that story behind us and move on to final thoughts? What do you guys think?
Evan, that's a fantasy that is 30 days away from becoming a reality.
Surprise!
No, if certain levers and buttons are pushed, I forget who. Alex was having a conversation, I think, with Meg, and she was, talking about CBDCs, and she was going off about them, and Alex was, stating his counter argument, and it's all just numbers on a screen at this point in time, and things could, probably extremely unlikely, but could happen extremely fast. So
yeah.
Well, there's some of that stuff is already in effect. It's not in your face, so it doesn't alarm you as much as it probably should. But I can pull up several examples, whether it be, Amazon or over in China, they actually track their social media movements, and you can be put in social media purgatory or jail, whatever it is, just for having the wrong thought. So some of that stuff that's already kind of there. It's just not strictly enforced or part of this dystopian society that you just read us about. So I agree with Neil. Someone could throw the lever, and 30 days from now we could be living that.
And Evan, I do have a general question for yourself, and maybe you want to table this for another day, or just for your own thoughts or whatever, but I don't want to interrupt your internal agenda right now.
Go for it. What's your question?
Would you be willing to pay? So, fractional reserve, it kind of goes in with your dystopian story. Banking, for every dollar that you give them, they have to keep a percentage of that, in liquid form assets. And up until I think it was 2018, that percentage was 5%, which is extremely low. And after 2018, it was 0%. So literally, the bank does not have to hold any liquid assets for any deposits that you give to it. So my question, and that obviously sounds ridiculous, but that is a fact right now. Would you be willing to pay 1% of your deposits to ensure that they're backed one for one, dollar for dollar?
That's a tricky question. My initial answer is, I don't know, because I don't have enough money that the current backing of it is not enough. And I worry about the effect of, obviously, like the physical printing of a dollar is is not much different than the creation of a digital dollar when somebody goes to apply for a loan. Like, inflation is happening either way. But I would be concerned about the effects on printing of money, that if people were incentivized to do that, then the government would be incentivized to print more, and it would, just create a big fist to push the balance of inflation over. But also, that's a very limited opinion. I really am not an expert on that kind of thing. So, I don't know if that answers your question. I'd need to learn more.
Yeah, I need to learn more also. I was listening to the All In podcast, which I think is a good podcast to get a bunch of good, different,
Okay.
points of view from some very smart people. But they kind of did an episode on banking, and just, you would have to pay for that service almost. So how much would you pay for it? Because banks aren't going to do that. So
Evan hit
could
it
you
on the
go?
head, though. There's a tipping point, right? So I'm in the same boat with you, Evan. It's not worth it right now, right? Don't have enough money to make that 1% worth it. But somebody's gonna have enough money where, yeah, I'll pay the 1% and guarantee that it's available to me. For sure. I'll pay 3%. I'll pay 10%. It gets to a point where the money gets silly, and you would pay that as an easy tax. So you were insured.
There was a concept I do want to get into another day that would be really relevant for this conversation. A friend of mine, Ian, is part of a company called 3Pay. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with it. They're kind of under the radar, and they're a platform that's doing a lot of different things. Decentralized social media. They've got a kind of a currency play that they're doing, but they've come up with a novel concept called an IVN, which is an inherently valuable NFT. When you mint a token is minted. You can, I will say, vest. I don't know that that's the word that they use, but you can put the price you pay for that token into that token. 60% of what you pay for it is stored in the NFT, so that no matter what happens to the price in the future of any asset it's tied to or attached to, it always will hold that money as like a store of value. And there are different interactions that happen in their kind of token ecosystem that create extra value. There are fungible and non-fungible tokens involved that get burned, or value gets reassigned in other places through the distribution of fees and so on and so forth, that might add to the value that is stored in that IV NFT. But I thought that was a really interesting concept, and I'm still kind of trying to wrap my mind around it. And it seems like a similar kind of thing. Like, the goal is to guarantee that this value you are parking somewhere will still be value you can access at a future time should you wish to use it. And I think that is a solution worth pursuing, just generally. That I also think tokens and non-fungible tokens can give us novel ways to solve that problem, is what that makes me think about. So thanks for blowing my mind on that. I have got to go, my friends. I've got to go, but not before I hear your final thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking as we head into the weekend. Lisa, Bill, Neil, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Please.
If you're in the United States, there's only 535 members of Congress that decide the fate of 300 million people. So if you don't think it's not important to reach those people, then you're dead wrong.
And in your own state, well, I don't know which state you're in, but in my state, there's 135 people that decide the fate of 3 million. So those things are super important. If you care about an idea or a law or crypto or anything, reach out, reach out, reach out.
Good thought. Bill, you got something for us?
Yes, at precisely 2:03 p.m. today, you need to cut it. Neil said, "Thank God Bill is here." So we want to get that on the soundboard.
Mint that.
Mint it. Mint it. Next collection, Neil. Sounds good. We'll collaborate.
No problem.
Neil,
Hey, and I gotta say, I missed out on the first Skywalker by like a few minutes because I was trying to, put some ETH in so I could make that purchase. So I'm looking forward to the second series.
I'll be sure to give the general public advance notice of when the drop date will be. So
love it. Neil, what about you? A final thought to take us into the weekend?
That's the reverse.
Final thought to take us into this weekend. Yes, it happened to me this morning when I saw my 8-year-old pour milk into his cereal bowl first and then cereal on top of it. And I almost had a heart attack because I believe that's one of, aren't there red flag laws? If you think your son or child or a person is going to hurt someone or injure somebody, just absolutely psychoactivity that I witnessed in my kitchen this morning. So,
wow, your kitchen is a place for that, though. You've got teeth in the cupboard. You got milk going first. My God, man. And Neil, you're
another show on that.
I think we could. I think Neil, you blink twice, man. It sounds like you have a nice life with a good family, but I've seen some of the AI pieces that you've generated, and I don't know, all of it together. We're here for you, man. Just let us know.
You're connecting some dots, Evan.
Does this child also jump into his or her pants?
2 legs at a time.
Yeah, people that do that, I will look at you sideways if I witness that. So that's
okay.
all.
Good to know. Well then, I'll give us a bit of wisdom from a crypto fortune cookie. Today's crypto fortune cookie is: your financial future is in your hands. Your financial future is in your hands. Oh, there's a little asterisk here. It says buy Bitcoin. What a great fortune cookie. What a great fortune cookie. And what a great show, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show. Don't forget to mint your POAPs featuring art by Neil. And then tune in next week. We'll be right back here. Same time, same place. It'll be Alex alone instead of me because I've got to travel. So maybe we'll have a poll for who hosted it better, Evan versus Alex edition. Don't forget to roast him. Send him your love. And until next time, my friends, have a great weekend. Rise up.
Hey, man. And that's just bullshit. Man. My dad can beat up your dad. Little old Brad is a dumbass. There is only one way to say this. I mean, isn't it pretty obvious what's happening here? Not ideal. Really annoying, but hey, that's the best we can do. Long story short, hey man, absolutely not honest. No idea. Can't say that despite all your hard work, I feel an overabundance of.
The secret word is slippers.